Good morning, fifth graders. So today we are working on standard NF.7. This should say week of 6-1, day 4 and 5. Okay. Now, some of these questions I was looking over really quick. They look a little bit weird. This one especially, but we're going to do the best with what we've got. Okay. So, question 1 says, Billy asked for some popcorn, and it was only got full. Not sure what got full means, but we're going to assume he got a full bag of popcorn. So if you go to the movies, you get a full bag of popcorn. Let me just go ahead and draw his full bag of popcorn, okay? He wants to share his bag with 3 people. How much of the bag does each person get? I want you to pause this video and try it out and see what you know. I'm really thinking about some of those tricky questions we've gotten this year, because this one has a little bit of a trick in it. So, he wants to share his bag with 3 people. So, just a reminder of that. We had a question earlier this year that was like Matt and his 3 brothers. I'm sure a lot of you remember that because it was a tricky one. But it's Billy plus 3 people, okay? So 4 people are sharing this bag. So if I split this into 4 pieces, and we're wondering how much each person gets, well, each person gets 1/4, okay? Because this whole bag was split between Billy and 3 other people, okay? Question 2. Adrian has $20 to spend on Christmas presents, and he plans on spending 1/5 of his money on each person he is buying for. What is the value of each present? Justify using a visual fraction model. So when we're creating these visual fraction models here, here we created a rectangle and we split that 1. So all of this represented 1. Here we're creating a model, and it can be vertical or horizontal, it doesn't really matter. So here, we're creating a visual fraction model, and what does that represent? It represents $20, which is 20 wholes, okay? So that's 20 whole numbers. Instead of this one, which is 1, this is 20, okay? Woo! Alright? And I'm splitting it into fifths, 1/5 of his money. So each of that represents a 5th. Now, you may know if I split 20 into 5 equal parts, you may know what that means. That means I'm doing 20 divided by 5, right? You may know what that is, and if you know your facts really well, you should know what that is, but in case you don't, one solution I have here, I'm going to zoom in, is I'm going to draw 20. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so how much are each of those? Each of those, since we have 20 whole numbers, right? 20 whole numbers, each of these little dots represent 1. So each person is getting a $4 gift. Okay? Next question. Create, and these are the ones that you have to think of the questions yourselves. So they're a little bit different, but create an equation that you can solve using the visual fraction model. Shade in the correct parts to represent your solution. So, you're creating your own problem here. So, before we used 1 and 20, so you can decide if this is a whole number or if this is a number greater than 1 or if this is just 1. I'm going to decide that this whole thing is worth 1. Okay? So if I have 1, and this kind of looks like a chocolate bar to me. So I'm going to pretend that this is a chocolate bar, and I'm sharing this whole chocolate bar between 3 people. Okay, so that's what I'm going to decide. You may have a different looking question. You may have a different looking equation, I mean. So I'm going to decide that we're doing this 1, and we're dividing this whole chocolate bar by 3. Okay? You may already know what that is. But, so I'm going to divide that by 3, meaning each person gets one of these rows, which is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 15, which when we know about equivalent fractions, we know we can divide both of those by 5. Whoops. Divide both of those by 5 over 5, and you get 1/3. Okay, and you may have a much different equation than I do. Maybe you said you're dividing it by something else, okay? Or maybe this is a bigger number. Either way, it works for us. So your solution would be 1/3. Yours may be a different solution, okay? Whatever works for you. Write a story problem that represents this equation. Solve the equation. Okay, so with this one, we're writing our own story problem. So I might say, I have 5. So Mrs. Slatton has 5 sheets of paper she is splitting in half. How many half sheets does she have? So, when we're looking at fractions like this, when we're dividing by fractions, you are taking this number, so you're taking that first number, so to show you the visual way first, so I have my 5 here, so this all is going to represent 5, okay? I'm going to first split it into single digits, so ones. I'm going to split this into ones, so that's 5. Each of those are 1, okay? And if I take my half, I need to now split each of these into half. Now, that one is in half. 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 So now each of these little squares represent 1/2, okay? On and on and on and on and on. All of those represent 1/2. How many 1/2s do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 1/2s, okay? So I'm going to erase that. I know with that visual fraction model, I have 10 1/2s. So I know my answer is 10. But I want to just remind you how we ended up showing you later and how you may choose to do this is keep, change, flip. So keep the first number, change that middle sign to a multiplication, and then flip your fraction. Okay, 5 in fraction form is just 5 over 1. So that ends up being 10 over 1, also known as just 10. Okay, so both ways are perfectly acceptable to get to your answer. You may choose this way may make more sense to you, or the visual fraction model that we drew before may make more sense to you. Either way, whatever works, there's more than one way to solve your math problems. It's the beautiful thing about math. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.